Do you know the global medical scandal that happened about 8 years ago? In fact, in 2018, a Chinese scientist did something that shocked the world. He edited the DNA of 2 baby girls before they were born. Scientists and many policymakers worldwide were alarmed. But wait, before you judge, here's the thing. What he did was the beginning of something huge that could potentially change medicine forever. Guess what? Just so you grasp the power and potential of what I'm talking about, in 2023, for the first time in the history of modern medicine, the FDA, American Federal Drug Administration, and shortly after the European Union, they approved this type of medical cure. A first of its kind medical solution, something that might change the course of medicine like nothing before. I might not be kidding to say you will come to remember this moment when you first heard about what I'm about to share with you. Picture this. A young woman suffering from a serious blood disorder called sickle cell disease. Her entire life has been constant pain. So many hospital visits every few weeks or months, blood transfusions, missing schools, missing work, watching life pass by in anguish. Now imagine this. One master treatment, just one. And all of that stops forever. No more hospital visits, no more pain. A normal life sounds like a miracle cure, right? That's not science fiction. That happened in 2023. Her name is Victoria Gray, and I'll tell you a full story in a few minutes. This is all real. Okay, so imagine I gave you a magic pen, and with this pen, you could literally rewrite the instruction manual of your life itself. You could erase your family history of cancer, just like that. Gone. You could make yourself immune to Alzheimer's disease, heart disease, maybe even aging itself. You could choose your baby's eye color, their intelligence, their athletic ability. Sounds like it's going over ethical lines, right? Now, here's my question. Would you use it? And more importantly, should you use it? Because that pen exists. It's called CRISPR. Relax. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why it's such a powerful and terrifying technology humanity has ever created. But first, let me tell you the story of how this was accidentally discovered. Scientists spotted this medical beast in bacteria. Yeah, you heard that right. In bacteria. The same bacteria and germs which are supposedly there to make us sick, huh? Stick with me for a while because this origin story is wild. So imagine this. It's early 2000s. Scientists are studying bacteria like the tiny organisms that live everywhere, including inside your gut right now. Gross, I know. And they noticed something bizarre. These bacteria were getting attacked by viruses. But here's the crazy part. They were remembering the attacks. It was like these microscopic organisms, they had a memory system. They would take a tiny piece of the virus DNA, store it like a mugshot in a criminal database, and if that same virus ever came back, bam! The bacteria would recognize it instantly and deploy molecular scissors to chop up the virus DNA and destroy it. Now, you might be thinking, cool, bacteria is smart, so what? Well, 2 women looked at this and thought, what if we could just use the scissors to edit any DNA we wanted? And that question just changed everything. But I'll tell you about them in a second. First, you need to understand what they actually built. Here's where it gets insane. I'm about to explain CRISPR in the simplest way possible. If you understand this, you get why this is bigger than the internet, why this is bigger than nuclear power. I presume you surely heard about DNA, right? Deoxyribonucleic acid is basically a massive instruction manual. It's in a code made up of about 3 billion letters. Crazy, huh? That's your genome. It tells your body how to build you. Now imagine that manual has typos and errors. In a layman and easy to understand depiction, most typos are harmless. But some typos, they cause terrible diseases, often referred to as genetic diseases. So imagine having a typo, say on page 54 of your DNA manual. That might give you maybe nothing. It could as well just be maybe sickle cell. A typo on page 2 million. Maybe that's Huntington's disease. Another typo, cystic fibrosis. Another one, Duchenne muscular dystrophy. For all of human history, if you were born with these typos, you were literally stuck with them for life. Your kids could inherit them too. Your grandkids likewise could inherit them later. And here's where this tongue breaker comes in. CRISPR, CRISPR, stands for clustered regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. Yeah, that's a mouthful, I know. Let's just call it CRISPR. It's like a clean-up scissors for DNA. It finds the typos, it cuts it out, and it replaces it with the correct code. Yes, the part that blows my mind. Before CRISPR, editing a single gene could cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and take years. Now, a few $1,000s in a few weeks, and you got it done. So it's now came on. And so naturally, scientists immediately started using this to cure diseases, right? Well, yes, but also some went way further than that. And that's where things get bad. Stay with me, we're coming there. Let me first introduce you to two absolute female legends who most people, I guess you two, have never heard of. This is Jennifer Doudna, an American biochemist, and this is Emmanuel Charpentier, a French microbiologist. In 2012, these two women published a paper that would change the course of human history. They figured out how to take that bacterial immune system, this molecular scissors I told you about, and turn it into a precise gene editing tool. And here's what gets me. Jennifer Doudna has said that after they published their discovery, she started having nightmares. Literal nightmares where world leaders would come to her asking her to teach them how to create super soldiers or designer humans. She realized, oh no, we just gave humanity God-like power and we have no idea if we're ready for it. And she was right to be scared. Get pop. To comprehend the magnitude of that discovery, in 2020, they won the Nobel Prize. And by that point, if you have been following along, someone had already crossed the line. Remember that Chinese scientist I mentioned at the beginning? Let me tell you what he did. This is where we need to talk about he and Kui. A fair warning, this story is equal parts fascinating and disturbing. In 2018, this guy, a brilliant Chinese scientist, shocked the world by announcing he had used CRISPR to edit the genes of twin baby girls before they were born. His goal, to make them immune to HIV. Now on paper, that sounds novel, right? Protecting babies from a devastating disease. But here's the problem. We don't fully understand all the consequences of editing human embryos. What if these edits cause other problems we won't see for, say, the next 20 years or more? The second one, those girls didn't give any concern. They are going to live their entire lives as the first genetically modified humans. How does that affect their psychology? And the third one, he did this in secret. He didn't get proper approval. He didn't even follow ethical guidelines. And sure enough, the global scientific community lost their minds over this incident. He and Kui was condemned, arrested, and sentenced to 3 years in prison. But here's what haunts me. Ironically, it wasn't wrong that CRISPR could do much. He was just broke. Because right now, there are clinics preparing to offer exactly what he did legally. And the question we have to answer is, where do we draw the line? And I'll give you my take at the end of this video. And let me show you the good side of CRISPR. The good stuff that CRISPR can do. Because it can be indeed amazing. Alright, let's talk about real hope and success stories. Because CRISPR isn't just some dystopian nightmare. It's already saved lives, like I made mention, real people, real results. Remember in 2023, the young woman named Victoria Gray? She became one of the first people to be functionally cured of sickle cell disease, a terrible blood disorder, using CRISPR. She had suffered her entire life, constant pain, hospital visits, blood transfusion, hell on earth. And after one CRISPR treatment, yes, one treatment, she is living a normal life. No more pain, no more suffering. That's a miracle, my friend. That's what this technology was meant for. And it's not just sickle cell. Yes, what CRISPR has been tested for right now. Curing blindness caused by genetic mutations. Reducing bad cholesterol, one of the leading causes of heart attack and stroke. Fighting cancer by editing immune cells to hunt down tumors. Ending malaria by creating mosquitoes that can carry the disease. Treating Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. It's been researched as a potential way to even cure HIV by removing the virus from the human DNA. We're talking about erasing diseases that have tortured humanity for several years, if not thousands of years. And this is a big bird. Every one of these miracles comes with a shadow. And that shadow can be very dark. That's what we need to talk about next. Because the same tool that cures disease can also create something we're not ready for. Let me ask you a picture. And I want you to really think about this. Designer babies. Imagine it's 2050. You walk into a fertility clinic. The doctor says, we can screen your embryos for disease, but for an extra $50,000, we can also make sure your child has higher intelligence genes, better athletic genes, lower risk of obesity, specific eye color and height. Do you do it? After all, you got the cash. Or do you say, oh, no way? Wait. Now imagine your neighbor does it, and your other neighbor, and suddenly there is a generation of genetically enhanced kids, and your kid is just normal, just natural. Can your kid compete? Bench woman, solos, and most competitions. This isn't science fiction, folks. This is called germline editing, and it's technically possible right now. But let's move on to scenario 2, genetic inequality. What happens when only rich people can afford genetic enhancement? We are not just talking about wealth inequality anymore. We're talking about biological inequality, genetical inequality, a world where rich people are literally smarter, healthier, and live longer than everyone else because of their genes. And here's the scariest part. Some scientists think we should do it anyway because others will want to. Look at our world today. Let me introduce you to a scenario you might or might not have come across. The famous prisoner's dilemma in game theory. Imagine 2 criminals are arrested and placed in separate rooms so they cannot communicate. The prosecutors offer them a deal, perhaps to even set them free. So even though staying silent together is best, the fear that the other person will betray you pushes both prisoners to confess. So CRISPR, this pro-fixing as much as possible, scientists argue that not using CRISPR to improve humanity is immoral and sleeping in class. So who's right? And what should we do? Let me give you my take. Okay, real talk. Here are the 2 lessons I want you to walk away with. Lesson number 1, progress is inevitable. Wisdom is optional. Every major technology in history has been a double-edged sword. Fire gave us warmth and destruction. Nuclear power gave us energy and atomic bombs. The internet gave us connection of fake news and misinformation. CRISPR will be no different. Just like AI, we can't stop it. It's already there. But we can decide how we use it. And that requires something we are not great at, unfortunately. We are not great at restraint. Lesson number 8. The question isn't can we? It's but how should we? Just because we have the power to edit human genes doesn't mean we should use it for everything. Curing a child's deadly disease, I think most of us would say yes to. Editing embryos to create smarter, taller, more attractive humans? Well, I can tell you, I have seen parents cheer up their kids at sporting events, at school competitions, and no matter how politically correct you might want to sound, one thing I know, most parents are willing to do almost anything to give the best to their kids. So, all I'm saying is, and here's my challenge to you, don't be afraid of CRISPR, but don't be blind to it either. This technology is going to shape the next 100,000 years of human existence, medicine, and all what we've known so far. And whether that's beautiful or terrifying depends on the choices we make right now. Remember, when I said at the beginning that you should be careful before judging, so here's my question for you. If you could use CRISPR to edit one thing about yourself, would you? That's where we need to pump the brakes and have a serious conversation. And what would it be? Drop a comment, I'm genuinely curious. And if this video opened your mind even a little bit, smash that like button and subscribe to Happysimus. We're here every week exploring ideas and technologies, shaping smarter living, life, and happiness. I am the Marco paramedical practitioner, life coach, and a travel enthusiast. Stay curious, stay kind, stay happy, and remember, the future isn't something that happens to us, it's something we create. Let's be judicious in the process. Peace and love.